The second stint in North America wraps up today here at Road Atlanta. However, this is not the end of the season. This penultimate round will be decisive as it will determine who has the advantage and how much of one once the drivers head to Spa. In fact, in the case of the prototypes, Smith could wrap up his first ever championship today. Tension will no doubt be the word on everyone's lips. Will it be released or will the strings get pulled tighter? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 13 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth today is Adam Lindgren and Bill Suit Zahn. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road Atlanta's short lap length and small number of corners is deceptive. The technical challenges here make it one of the most respected road courses in North America. To find out a little bit more about why, let's head down to our track guide. Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curving lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track. You see a little bit about Road Atlanta, but Adam, this is going to be an interesting one, and I know we say that a lot, but with all that's on the line here today, I have to imagine that drivers are going to be licking their chops here at the Pork Chop.
Yeah, they'll be licking their chops, but honestly, Joe, if there's ever a place to hold a championship deciding round, especially for those prototypes, most drivers probably would not pick Road Atlanta. This challenging, rewarding circuit boasts 2.54 miles or 4.08 kilometers of track with 12 turns, each deserving of their own special respect. The GT3s will be heavily challenged in the first sector with its sweeping turns and challenging braking zones. The GTs, on the other hand, will find the last sector tough to maintain speed as 10A and B make the uphill climb to turn 11 treacherous. The HPDs will need to stay off the curbs as much as possible and be careful on the power application coming out of 10B up the hill. The challenge of the multi-class will be split into two parts, turns 11 through 5 and turns 6 through 10B. From the penultimate corner through the S's, the faster classes will find it very hard to find room on the track to pass, as the racing line crosses from left to right many times in this section. After the S's, we hit classic North American circuit territory, with plenty of right angle turns and long straightaways to give those faster classes room to get by. Patience, as always, will be needed to stay out of trouble today, Joe, and it will be the difference between coming out of this race with a shot at the championship or saying goodbye to your hopes of one.
And speaking of hopes of a championship, if we take a look at the prototype points, I mentioned Billy Smith has a good chance of taking it away today. He is already a full win ahead. In fact, the impetus is on Jason Girard to try and outscore him. Now, worth pointing out that I do not believe we have Jason here today racing. So this could be it. Josh Wolf and Stephen McGarvey could still get into this thing. I think they are within range, but it is highly unlikely, especially in the case of McGarvey. He would really need maximum points to still be able to take a championship at Spa. Now, Adam, it seems like it's kind of the reverse situation down there in the GTEs.
Yeah, in this sense, Bradley Haley and Jason DeVries are 1 point separated for the lead. And then Mike Young and Kevin Binkley are 1 point separated for third. Mike Young is too far out of it, really, to be competitive with Haley going into the final round. So expect third to be the highest he or Binkley can get, with Scott McGarvey in fifth. But here's the thing, Jason DeVries only 1 point back of Bradley Haley. He's got to start from fifth today to try and make his way up. And Bradley's starting on pole. So if Jason wants to win this championship, he's got a lot to do. All right, Soup, you're taking a look at the GTD standings here.
As we look at those, I want to compliment the Autobahn rule makers. Here at GSRC, we do a lot of series that have pro and amateur splits, and they do it with numbers. They do it with all sorts of other gimmicks to do it. The way Autobahn does it, put everybody here in this GTD class, call them amateurs. It's really fun to watch, and it makes this race all the more exciting. And look how exciting it is. You got Paul Lindsay only up by 6 points on Kevin Santana, and Santana really values this championship, and he's always in it. Eric Antilli back by 21, probably with only one more race to go, maybe a little too far out. Sheldon Rosenbaum, very impressive. Tim McLeish rounding out the overlay.
Now, they also have a teams championship, and they do it kind of unique here, too. The teams are made up of drivers in one get to score in each of the three classes. Now, they're allowed 4, as you can see there on the overlay. That is just to help out with attendance, obviously, since this is sim racing. But Automobile No Disassembly has been far and above the ones to beat all season long. And I believe we'll have to do the numbers. I think they can also clinch that championship here today. It's more closely fought between second and third. Lap Rats and SRN Orange, separated by a mere 7 points between them. SRN Gray, a little bit behind, could still get into things. And then Autobahn West, unfortunately, a little bit too far back to really have any hope of being any higher than fifth, unfortunately. Now, Adam, we also have some race details for today's event. Why don't you run that down?
Yeah, to those of you who still might be new to the series, this is the penultimate round. This is round 13 of 14 for the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. We have 3 classes, the prototypes, which are going to be represented by the Honda HPD ARX-01, the GTLMs, which drive a Porsche, Ford, Ferrari, and BMW, and the GTDs with a Merc and a little represented Audi. We'll see a couple of them out on track, but most of them will be Mercs. These guys are driving open setups, so they can set up the car however they like or dislike today. This is their endurance distance, so this one will be a 90-minute race for them. They have an incident cap of 24 and no spare car. So these guys are going to have to deal with any damage that they accrue during this race.
Right now, we've got qualifying underway, and this is for the prototypes. John Ulmer has the provisional pole. He was fastest in warm-up, too, so he's carrying that speed over that he had last round at Watkins Glen with his win, and seeing if he could take another one before we leave the Americas, since he's known for liking these tracks. In fact, he was talking about how much he loves this place in practice, as he makes a little mistake there in the chicane. So that's going to be a little bit of a slow lap right there. And that actually might be critical, because Billy Smith just took it over by less than a tenth. The 9:01, now your highest qualifier here in the prototypes. And Adam, no wonder we're seeing John Ulmer slide around a little bit. It is very hot out on track during qualifying.
Yeah, it is blazing right now. We have the track temperature at 118 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 48 degrees Celsius. Yeah, I know, Soup. It is ludicrous out there right now. So qualifying, I mean, this is absolutely the worst weather you could have for qualifying. It's not the worst thing for a race, but for qualifying, when you're trying to put it all out there, it's nearly impossible to try and wring out the car, and you know you have so much speed left in you, but the tires and the track surface just don't have any more to bear.
Gilmet on screen as he comes through that last chicane. He currently sits in 6th, and Josh Wolf is just ahead of him by actually less than 1,000th of a second, so incredibly tight there. If he improves just a little bit, which he does not that time through, he could get himself onto the 3rd row.
Yeah, Josh Wolf was the next to come across the line, and he does improve his time just a little bit, gets him a little bit closer to Dawson Brock there. Shane Hunter will be the next across the line. He's currently in the 9th spot, trying to battle with Dean Mole, who's up ahead of him by about half a second. He crosses the line and appears to set a decent time, so he's going to improve, but not past Dean. He's now within a 100th of a second.
So 3.5 minutes left to try and determine this. Billy Smith still holding on to that pole. as he comes through. Not going to get a lap time that time through. John Ulmer still has time to try and come back at him.
Man, Joe, watching these guys go through the S's right now, the cars are just completely sideways. They're relying entirely on downforce to keep them from really sliding off the track, as we see Dawson Brock slide through the final corner as well, as he's starting a hot lap right now. It's just looking really difficult out there for all of these drivers.
So let's see how Guillemette can handle things as he crosses one more time, and this time he does go quicker, and actually it's going to be up to 5th instead of 6th place. He goes ahead of Josh Wolf. Oh, and Josh Wolf takes it right back with a 4th place. And that is a 1:11.2 there. He is only just shy of 4/10 off of Billy Smith.
John Ulmer just about to start another flying lap for himself. He's going to come across. David Sockrider is not going to improve on his time. The hot temperatures coming down a little bit. We lost 1 degree, so we might see the fastest laps towards the end of this session, as Billy Smith, our leader, going to come across and see whether or not he can pull any more of a gap from John Ulmer. Just now, it's under 1/10 of a second.
Nope, no faster that time by. Carbonneau, the next one through. He's been quick all season long. 492 car down and across the line. Looks like that may have been an outlap. He had a 1:10.8 at one point. Good enough to put him in 3rd. Dawson Brock, one of those that is chasing him. He comes across. Looks like he won't have a lap count either. So everyone pushing a little too hard and discounting their laps.
So everyone crossing the line right now, they've got about 30 seconds to start a lap before you run out of time to complete your next one. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's able to get across the line with another chance for another lap. Joshua Wolf will be one of those drivers who does. John Ulmer coming across the line. He does improve just a little bit. He's still within 1/10 of a second, but he cannot beat Billy Smith. Not on that lap. He's got one more opportunity to do so.
Wow,
possibly
things are
2.
tight. And this is Billy Smith on screen right now down into the chicane. And he's not going to be able, this is going to be the start of his last lap right here. So he's not going to be able to take another one after this next lap. As he crosses the line. Oh, and it is another non-counted lap for him. So what about Carbonneau down in 3rd? Can he barge onto the front row and spoil this party? No. Another driver making mistakes out there, and the stewards have discounted it.
Yeah, this is getting very interesting here. Dawson Brock with a slow lap as well. So lots of these drivers a little bit slow. They realize that these next laps will be their last ones, so they're all backing it up, trying to cool down those tires a little bit. Joshua Wolf will be the next to cross the line. He will also be starting his final lap.
So the 148 car looking to try and improve by roughly 4/10 of a second as he crosses. It is another lap that was discounted, and John Ulmer goes faster again. Is this one finally enough? It is 1/4 of a 10th of a second faster than Billy Smith. So this is the last answer that the 901 car can have on this one. He's down to the chicane. Billy Smith looking to wrap up a championship and start it early by trying to get a bonus point. He'd think, yep, it was a big mistake out of the chicane there.
Yeah, it looks like he just kind of just lost the initiative there. I think he might have lost fuel. So John Ulmer looks like he will take pole unless Luke Carbonneau has a miracle up his sleeve.
It's down to it. Oh, he's very fast. It's a 10.551, and he does pull it away from Ulmer. Oh, my goodness.
Like I said, the miracle he was looking for. Wow, Luke Carbonneau able to cross the line and get that pole position. He pulled that one out of the bag.
Top 3 are less than a 10th apart. Josh Wolf is back in 4th. Well, we've seen some improvements here at the end, so can he maybe do something? What's he got in it? Oh, a little bit of wheel spin. He's done. He pulls it over to the side. That might have been our last driver with a shot at the pole. The rest of them, Shane Hunter is coming down, followed by Sock Rider, and I think those are the only 2 who can complete laps. Hunter's not going to take it. Sock Rider will. He sits in 7th in that number 44. And he does improve. I don't think, nope, that is not going to take him up any higher than 7th. That'll be it for our qualifying results. That means that our grid is set. It's time to go through the order, starting with the prototypes. Not that big of a field here for them today. Luke Carbonneau will be starting in first with John Ulmer in P2. Then inside of row 2 is going to be Billy Smith trying to claim a championship. Josh Wolf to the outside of him, starting in 4th. Dawson Brock, good enough for 5th in qualifying. He's got Tyler Gilmet outside of him in 6th. David Sockrider, despite the improvement, stays P7, and he will be next to Shane Hunter. Dean Mole starts 9th, and then Mike Major will be 10th here, Adam.
Bradley Haley's going to start off with the pole today in the GTLM class. Dennis Savretic is going to start off in 2nd place, with David A. Williams starting off 3rd on the 2nd row, with Lee Peterson in 4th. Jason DeVries starting back in 5th position, 2nd place in the points. He's got a long way to climb to try and beat Haley. Marc-Antoine Thibault starting off in 6th, with Ross Booth starting off 7th place, then Carter Kundinger in 8th. Vance Bow is going to start off 9th position with Kevin Binkley in 10th. Robert Canshin will start off 11th place on the grid with Daniel Grouse outside of him. Then we have Mark Wilson, and then Ryan Huff did not set a time, but he will line up 14th for the GTLMs.
Back in the GTD, Sheldon Rosenbaum took the pole there with Paul Slavonic starting in 2nd. Then you got Paul Lindsay, P3 for the championship hopeful, right next to his rival, Kevin Santana, starting in 4th. That should be spicy. Mark Kodrowski will be P5, Eric Antilli in 6th, and then the next row has Luke Schmidt 7th and Dominic Dornenberg in 8th. Tim McLeish, Jerry Mueller, and Christopher Sherburne round out your field of GTD cars. Now, I said it's not as many as we're used to, but it's still a fair amount, and it's 3 different classes, so there's a lot to keep track of. So if you don't see your favorite driver on screen, you can follow all the action live with our timing and scoring at GSRC.tv. Make sure and check that out so that you can follow along and never miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, I have sad news for fans of Bill. Unfortunately, the courts have made an injunction that disallow him from gambling, so he won't be able to make his picks today. Adam, though, you are not off the hook.
No, and so here's the interesting thing. When I take a look at this grid, I really see some strong people right at the front, but I'm actually going to go with Billy Smith for the win of the prototypes, and I'm going to give Bradley Haley the win in the GTLMs. Now, with the GTDs, things get a little bit more interesting. I'm actually going to give it to Kevin Santana, who starts off 4th today, and I think that he's going to be able to climb all the way past Lindsay, Slavonic, and Rosenbaum.
Interesting. Okay, so as they start off on the pace lap, now that they've switched over to a little bit later in the day, it's now 4 p.m. virtual standard time out here. The track has mercifully gone down, Adam. It's 102 Fahrenheit on the track surface. That's still a little hot, but you said it's a little bit easier for racing. How do you feel about it now?
Yeah, this is going to be a lot more comfortable for these guys, and I think especially when it comes to the multi-class action, I think there's going to be a little bit more of, you could dodge other classes a little bit better now, so I think that's going to be something that's going to be a little bit more comfortable for them. And it's still a little bit higher than you really want for maximum speed, but I think we can be competitive at these temperatures now, especially going side by side through some of these twistier sections.
I'll have to dig up the points to see what the scoring will be, because essentially what we've got is Josh Wolf has to outscore Billy Smith by a certain amount. So all Billy has to do is finish a certain number of positions up the order, and with only 10 cars, it's not going to be too difficult, I imagine, for him to be able to clinch this championship. We'll try to get that information to you, but Billy Smith very much looking to try and close this one out. It's been a long time coming. In fact, I want to say the last time he took a championship was back when he raced with the Cadillacs, I want to say. This was years ago at this point in this series. So again, going to have to do some digging on those stats, but boy, has it been a minute as they come down the backstretch. You can see though, Adam, they are going to spread them out here on the start. There's the gap back to our GTEs.
Yeah, it's going to be spread out here. They've given the order that it's going to be a 3-second gap between classes, and they cannot start. The prototypes cannot start until the pace car is 100% on the pit lane. That's where the grass wedge is on the left side of the track when we're going to be looking at it. GTLMs and GTDs cannot start until they reach that wedge. So that's going to be the rules. So as they come up towards the final sector, you're going to see the prototypes back off a little bit to give that pace car a little bit of room. All
right, up and over the hill. They give control, and the green flag waves off like a shot. Luke Carbonneau is trying to take the lead away on this one, but John Ulmer is having none of it. He's around the outside with a lot of momentum, and he's going to make that pass stick as they go into turn one. One car is off. I'm trying to figure out who that is, but in the meantime, everybody else is clean. Let's go to the GTEs.
GTE's got Bradley Haley with a great start. He was able to back them up until they reached the flat, and then he launched. Dennis Savretic has followed him through with David A. Williams and Jason DeVries all the way up to the 4th position already on this start. They're still side by side as they go into the S's. Back to the GTDs with Soup.
Bomb has a nice, comfortable start, about 4 or 5 car lengths ahead of Slavonic. Santana locked into third. He's being closely pursued by Lindsay. Rounding out your top 5, it's a Luke Schmidt.
Well, looks like it at least is a relatively clean start. That was Wolf who went off on the first corner just out of the exit. That made him fall to 9th place. So, Ulmer, your new leader, up at the front of the prototypes. Carbonneau follows, and he's no longer in second because Billy Smith sneaks up the inside down into the chicane.
Looks like Dennis Savretic had it off. He clipped the grass, went into the wall. He is now out of this race from the 3rd position. That promotes Jason DeVries up to 3rd spot in the GTLMs. So he's been able to increase that pace. And now they're all trying to catch up to Bradley Haley, who's been able to pull a 1.2 second gap over David A. Williams. Jason DeVries tucked in there in the 3rd spot.
How many times we've seen that GTE championship slip away from Haley. I'm sure he is going to be trying to keep hold of this one as we got a battle here for 2nd place. Slavonic round the outside of the exit of the chicane on Santana, and he's going to make the pass stick. It's with Santana being slow. That's Lindsay. That's his championship rival. Coming up behind him, Lindsay gets to the inside down into turn 1 and demotes him another one.
Yeah, what happened on that? Santana made a move to try to get the pass made on Slavonic. It failed, and he lost momentum, so he didn't get the pass made, and Lindsay took advantage.
And that was Cancian off track in the GTE cars we saw in turn 1. It looks like he hit the wall hard. We'll have to get back to that one later, but he gets the car moving at the very least.
Yeah, Cancian was a single car incident, just under braking into turn 1. Dawson Brock lost it going up the hill towards turn 2. He's also out of this race, so we've lost 3 already. Dawson Brock, Savretic, and Ryan Huff. And here we go, battle for the 3rd position. That's Marc-Antoine Thibault right behind Jason DeVries.
Watch him slide to the outside once they get to that first apex. He's going to have quite a bit of momentum. And DeVries looks like maybe he lets off. This really is in line with the strategy he's pulled much of this season. He does not mind giving a few positions away and saving some fuel because it's given him a number of wins.
And remember, this is the 90-minute race, so that means the fuel savings definitely will pay out a lot more. Here's another battle as we go on to, that's between Slavonic and Lindsay, I believe.
It is, and Lindsay gets into 2nd place. That is a car on the move. So, can he run down Rosenbaum with 3.5 seconds up? He's going to have to hold off Slavonic, who looks to the inside in that Merc. And he's not going to be able to quite make the pass, Bill.
Yeah, all that battling going on between Lindsay, Slavonic, and Santana had lets Rosenbaum run away with this baby.
So Slavonic backs off, and Santana certainly liked that attempt because he's able to stick with him. I'm sure he'd love to try and get back ahead of him as the drivers head up and over the treacherous turn 5. This is again for 2nd place. Lindsay leading in the orange and white machine. And then the Audi, that is Slavonic's, Kevin Santana, and the dark Mercedes.
I would expect somebody to make a move here the way they've been fighting. Actually, all the passing, though, has been done out of the final corner and into corner 1. Surprisingly, not so much down here in what you would think would be one of the best passing zones. Maybe Santana making a look there at 3rd position, but I think he's too far back.
Yeah, Slavonic very slow down the backstretch that time as Lindsay pulls away, getting right up to the bumper. Santana deep into the corner, but looks like he's going to pay for it coming off of it. Not missing much in the other 2 classes right now. This is some of the best fighting we've got here for the podium spaces down in the GTD AM class. Through turn 1 once again. They're all going to be spread apart. No pass attempt this time through. Riding with Slavonic, Mr. Unlucky himself.
Sorry, Joe, staying on the back of this 4-car train. A great run from Luke Schmidt as he's right there in case somebody makes a mistake.
Yeah, that is a good point. It looks like he has gotten up to Kevin Santana in all of this, and they're leaving Intilli behind. So 4 of the top 5 closing in amongst one another.
I can report a small moment for David Sockrider going into the chicane. He lost traction a little bit, and he's now back to the back of the pack. But now we have a close battle up there. That is a tight battle for those prototypes. That's Joshua Wolf being chased by Dean Mole and Mike Major.
In fact, he just got by Mole. Took a nice pass into turn 1, but Mole's not sitting down for it. Major hoping to take advantage if they get side by side once again. They head into turn 6. Let's see what the slipstream is going to be like for our prototypes today as they swing it out of 7. It's all about that traction off the corner. Mole is looking nice and tidy. Look at this as he stays right underneath the rear wing of the 148s. But Josh Wolf, his straight line speed is powerful. He is actually pulling away.
And this has everything to do with how they set up the wings. Remember, this is an open setup series, so that means Dean Mole has a lot more downforce on that machine. It means he could go through the twistier sections faster, but Josh Wolf can make it going forward. And John Olmer's wrecked out of the race.
Oh, already.
He's not wrecked out, he's just in the pits. I don't see any damage on the machine.
We'll get to that in a second. In the meantime, Mark Antoine has been making attempts on David Williams here as he's going to look to the inside, coming down to the chicane. This is for P2 in the GTE class. He's got the desired line. Can he keep it tidy through here? Both are about even on the brakes, but down to the apex, Mark Antoine is going to snatch it away.
Good race for sure. Good race. And let's go to that replay for Ulmer because he just ends up pulling into the pits, but on the same time frame, we should also take a look at Luke Carbonneau during this replay because Luke Carbonneau actually gets spun out by a lapped car as he was going through turn 1.
Yeah, I looked through and there's nothing that he hits. So
wow.
This might be pit strategy.
That's what I'm guessing. Either that or he made the cardinal sin of forgetting to put race fuel in.
And here's Carbonneau just coming out of the final corner. He's going to go through the front stretch and get alongside a GTD car and end up getting punted off in turn 1. He's lost a ton of time and is actually going to the pits right now to do the same strategy as Ulmer because of that.
Yeah, that was just a bit of an awkward spot and a hard hit for both cars, unfortunately. So Carbonneau down the lane and still looking for his stall. Hasn't even reached that yet to try and get that damaged repair. Ulmer naturally came out at the back of the prototype fields, although he did not fall behind the GTE cars. He's still in front of the GTLMs, and he's going to be promoted up to 8th after Carbonneau pitted. Meanwhile, ever since that pass that Wolf made, that now promotes him to 3rd because of the problems from those ahead of him. Mole still being hassled by Major, who we ride on board with as they catch the traffic.
Yeah, this traffic's going to be the name of the game for these prototypes, how they manage it. They're going to have to try and do as much passing as they can on this final sector of the course because that first sector is so narrow and so windy. It's so hard to pass. As we ride on board with Mike Major here, as he goes up the hill, we have a little bit of connection issues from Tim McLeish up ahead of them. They're going to try and make their way by, and through this final corner, look at that. Dean Bull hold up a lot. Mike Major's going to maybe possibly take a look here, and he's going to think better of it and back off. That's Robert Canchin trying to get past Eric Intilli ahead of them that's blocking his lane.
Yeah, that's all 3 classes through turn 1, and finally Mole is able to get through. It's very early in a 90-minute race to be making some 3-wide motions down through turn 1, and I think everybody knew it in that situation. But look at how much they get held up here through the S's. I feel like this is going to be a talking point all day long, Adam.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot pass through the S's. You'll just get punted off by the GT cars because they need all the track in order to stay on course and in order to try and go quickly. So they're not going to give you any quarter there in that sector as we see Mike Major go to the inside of Dominic Dornberg there to try and get back up to Dean Bull. But Dean is up by about 1.8 seconds at this point.
Very well for him.
As you watch these prototypes come through, remember we were looking at that battle that involved Lindsay and Rosenbaum. Well, Rosenbaum's lost a lot of time now, but when Billy Smith came by, it really broke up that battle of the GTDs. Should be easier for these prototypes to get through now.
Well, that's good news for Rosenbaum and Lindsay. Bad news for guys like Slavonic and Santana. As you watch Major down the hill and across the line, he's got Shane Hunter right behind him. The 927 had a much better time through that traffic. We're on the gearbox of Major now, looking back at that car.
About 2 seconds of difference on that last lap, which has allowed Shane Hunter to really close up significantly. And Mike Major's going to catch Kevin Santana at the worst time once again. So this should allow Shane Hunter to close in once again as they come out of this next sector, coming out of the S's. Shane Hunter with a little bit of a better run. Kevin Santana's going to swap over to the other side of the track. Shane Hunter swapping over to the right side to try and get the inside line to the corner and make sure Kevin can take his own line. But Mike Major getting held up once again. Like you said, this is going to be the story of the race.
That time it was Slavonic in front of him. Slavonic's certainly not in any mood to try and give away much time here. As they get by, Hunter cuts it down to 0.3 of a second. The slipstream is going to give him a little bit here. I don't think we'll see a pass down into the chicane. He does close. And yet more traffic in front of them. Dean Mole approaching to Rosenbaum. Let's go back to second place, though, in the GTEs. This is crazy.
Yeah, Tabo is losing time to Bradley Haley, who's now up to 3 seconds ahead, and David Williams has been really closing a lot on Tabo recently. We're going to jump on board with David as he's trying to gain all that time to Tabo, but Tabo got a better exit through the S's, so that's allowed him to snake away a little bit, but David has had so much speed on this straight. He's been able to get within a quarter of a second, almost within a tenth of Tabo by the end of the straight.
An unfortunate complication is Luke Carbonneau, because of his long pit stop there, he is actually going to be going by them and not to lap them. So they're not going to get blue flags. They got to be heads up and be aware that the 492 car is going to be coming through. And it could be a bit of a surprise as we ride on board with David Williams. In fact, he might catch them in the first half of the course here, which is going to be even worse news.
I can report that Shane Hunter in P5 in the prototypes had a self-spin. He's now back to P7, just recovering as we continue to watch this battle going on in the GTLM class.
Is he going to be able to get by before the S's here? I think he's going to get by Williams. No, he's going to wait patiently. So a very considerate move there from Luke Carbonneau.
Now, if you're greedy enough as a prototype, coming through that first left-hand turn on the downhill of the S's, you can make a pass on a GT car, but they have to expect you to do it, and you have to make the pass by the time they want to turn right towards the next turn in the S's, and that sometimes is not possible and can lead to a lot of headaches and angry drivers if you're not careful.
Now, in normal circumstances, I would cry wolf here for guys like De Vries because Peterson has now caught him. But again, my mind keeps going back to the fact that he's played these fuel games so much this season. I can't help but not panic seeing him fall a little bit down the field.
Yeah, I'm just remembering back to Japan where we had him take a fuel-saving victory. He only took one stop in that race, which was a miracle, we thought. And he was able to win based upon fuel saving alone. So yeah, I'm thinking about that too, and realizing that De Vries might be trying to hit fuel numbers, and that could be really impressive. He might just let Peterson by if Peterson challenges.
Well, if Ulmer took his splash and go, if we're right about that, and it's a two-stop and Ulmer knew it, because Ulmer doesn't want to race for 90 minutes saving fuel. He came in, got all the fuel he needs, and now he can race cleanly. I wonder if you're right about that, if the guys are thinking about one stop and they're just not... they can't show what they can do yet.
Yeah, Ulmer's is a very curious one because working it backwards is a bit of a strange process.
And I would have maybe given myself maybe 1 or 2 more laps before I came in for fuel.
Yeah, and the other thing about working it backwards is the HPDs really benefit from having a lighter fuel load, which means that he's not going to have that benefit of the lighter fuel load when...
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. So that would make him slower over the course of the race, on top of the fact that we're going later into the day, which makes it so that the track only gets cooler, which makes you faster. So the issue's compounded, and so yeah, it is an interesting prospect. But I guess John trying to try something new here.
Well, Bill, you've got a championship hopeful that is very eager to try and take this thing, because Lindsay has run down Rosenbaum and is looking like he is trying to take max points here today.
Yeah, you know, it's so hard for me to get a feel for what's going on here, because every time these guys start to race, it's kind of like kids playing ball in the street. the prototypes come through and they all have to stop and it gets spread out again. I saw Rosenbaum run away from these guys when the track was clear. When traffic got in, I don't think he got through it as well, or he was a little more polite than he needed to be. But now here comes Lindsay, and there's no traffic now. And you can look at this. Paul's really closing up on him big time.
I wonder if it's a setup thing, if maybe Rosenbaum was a little bit better early in the stint, and Lindsay's finding the cars coming to him. You can see the gap as we ride on board, closing down and down. It's about half a second, and they've still got a ways to go before they have to make a pit stop. The GTD class tends to have about the widest window of the three classes here in Autobahn.
Well, if he got points for aggression early on, it would go to Lindsay because he was hungry. He has really been on the move. So, yeah, I think you're right about this. He wants to get all the points he can get.
And again, that will not clinch it unless we see a big wreck from Santana, because it's only 6 points between them going in. But the more gap he can put between, the less pressure he'll be under at Spa-Francorchamps. Now, in the prototypes, we haven't paid attention to that podium in a while, and it seems like something's starting to bubble up here.
Yeah, this is Josh Wolf chasing Tyler Gilmet for the second position. Tyler being held up a little bit by Marc-Antoine Thibault up ahead of them. Josh Wolf going to try and get by him through this really tough sector up here. He's actually going to think better of it as Thibault really sends it into that corner. Here's that pass I was talking about. This is what's possible if you get a good opportunity on a GT car, and both of them were able to get through there cleanly, as Gilmet's going to get held up by the leader, Bradley Haler, up ahead of them. But Josh Wolf has been gaining a lot on Gilmet in the traffic. But now that Gilmet's got clean air, it'll be interesting to see whether he can pull away.
Let's stay on this battle and see if the traffic causes them to close back together. But just an update, Ulmer got by Hunter. So he is starting to make progress through the field, and he is up to 7th now.
And with the fastest lap he just put in, makes it so that it's, yeah, I mean, he's definitely not worrying about fuel anymore. He's not, I think well, our thinking is correct that he worked the race from backwards and just trying to crank out fast laps from here on out.
We know we give Ulmer a hard time, but he prides himself on running a low downforce car. So he sets the car up on a Ranger edge from the very beginning. So he's always fast, but that's the price you pay.
That's true. And maybe that's why he is doing that, knowing that he's going to have a fast car. He's going to use more fuel being fast like that. So might as well just abandon any hopes of trying to stretch it out. So we continue to watch these three, and Gilmet now going to try and get by.
Let's go to Rosenbaum real quick. Maybe we can get a replay of this. Here's the pass happening right now for P1. A mistake happened. I'm telling you, Rosenbaum's really polite. He tried to give Kanchian a lot of room as the GTLM car was going through. He put it out on the grass on corner 7, lost all of his momentum, and Lindsay says, "Thank you very much."
Here's the replay. Everything looking fine here.
That's Kanchian behind him.
I don't know if he was trying to let him through. I think that looks like driver error to me.
Well, he sure did miss the apex, and so
yeah.
And that's the price you pay if you want. Don't make a mistake on corner 7.
Yeah, made it easy for Paul Lindsay. Heading up to the front now, starting from 3rd, getting up to the lead very early in this race before they've even had the first pit stop. Now, heading back to 6th, John Ulmer, he's got another one, and I think he's going to get it right now, actually.
Yes, he is. John Ulmer making a pass on David Stockrider there. David just a little bit slow on the straights. Like you said, Soup, John Ulmer taking downforce out of that machine to make it super slick, and that's exactly what he's showing right now. He's actually using up a lot of tire through the chicane there to try and get the car to get some power down out of the corners. So he definitely has that thing real trimmed out so he can go fast.
I sure hope we're right and he's doing a 2-stop and it's not that Joe was nailed and then he forgot to take out qualifying fuel. Well, that would be really painful.
It'll be a 3-stop actually, because again, this is the endurance format at 90 minutes. So everybody else would normally be doing a 2-stop here. Now, what's interesting is those first few cars, Hunter, well, of course, he inherited Carbonell with his pit, and Sockrider were a little bit closer. He's got 11 seconds to make up to Mike Major. We'll keep an eye on that gap and see how much quicker he actually is. A little bit farther back in the GTDs, McLeish and Kudrowski. In fact, they're going to go side by side down into the chicane. I think Kudrowski's got the move, and in fact, yes, he's able to slip through quite well past that number 95. So we didn't quite see it on screen. There they are now.
Maybe a little bit of a bump here too. Let's see Does he get into him here? No, he doesn't. That's McLeish does a good job of letting him run away.
Yeah, it was awful tight. So we come back live, and it seems like Kudrowski has much better pace because McLeish quickly falling back. I can't say that the same is happening with Rosenbaum and Lindsay. He's still holding on to the back of the number 70. Watch from onboard Sheldon now. That is Billy Smith, actually, our leader in the prototypes that just went by.
Oh. And we just had a wreck. We just had a spin, big incident actually that just happened in the GTE class between a couple of GTLMs as well. Jerry Mueller in the 195 ended up getting together with Marc-Antoine Thibault and De Vries.
Yeah.
Oh. Championship implications too. Multiple cars coming together. Here's Mueller. The black car is De Vries. He's going to get into the back of him here.
Might be fun to take a second look in Ross Booth's onboard if we get a chance. If we have enough time to do it. That yellow car. Watch Booth get in. The very late one in there. Ends up going on the grass. He had a great view of it.
Did he actually make any contact, or did he get away clean other than diving through the grass there?
Just a touch, but pretty good shot on the back of Peterson.
Oh, and we had a big wreck for Josh Wolf. This has championship implications. Josh Wolf with major damage, and actually a very close moment for another championship hopeful, Kevin Santana.
This is Santana that has it spin right.
Yeah, we need an onboard here after this.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's as close as it comes, and that's one of those moments where you need to change your fire suit afterward for sure.
I don't know if he took evasive action or if that's just where the racing line was. There really wasn't a lot of time.
I don't think he did anything there. That just kind of happened in front of him. Oh, and Josh Wolf had to take a tow. Too much damage. With Gerard not here, and let's see, Stephen McGarvey. I don't think even Stephen McGarvey is here either. So that is it. Billy Smith essentially has clinched the championship with that wreck. No matter what happens from here, the 901 is your prototype champion.
Definitely probably not the way he would have wanted to win, but a championship is a championship, and I think Billy's going to take it. But don't think he's going to slow down just because of that. He definitely wants to win this race. He's pulled out almost 9 seconds over Tyler Gilnett.
Yeah, he's had 5 out of the last 7 races with a victory, so I'm sure he'd love to add to that tally. Meanwhile, the lead in GTE, Haley's got some problems here. Marc-Antoine Thibault is on fire today.
It's traffic that's really causing the problems. He cannot get by these GTDs very efficiently in that Ford. And this Ferrari of Marc-Antoine Thibault has really been putting the pressure on. Look how close they're going to get. Here comes David Sockrider. This could go 3 wide. 4 wide almost. Oh, Sockrider almost pushed off track. This could, oh my goodness. And a little bit of contact between Thibault and Dornberg. Oh, man.
To be fair, that was a very hard situation to read for everybody. So I can't put too much blame on anyone here.
It's been a sensory overload for Haley there. He's trying to watch all the... He had no idea that prototype was coming up on him from so far back.
In fact, he's still trying to get by him as Haley's still ahead, and he's trying to overtake Luke Schmidt now.
Yeah, and that's broken up this battle for sure. Thibault now about 2.5 seconds behind. Another pressure for David A. Williams in 3rd spot.
And Sockrider is fighting for position for what it's worth. That's Shane Hunter on him. So he does eventually want to get through here, and now he's going to be able to get by Haley. And Hunter's going to follow him by. This is for 6th spot.
Yeah, this is one of the most challenging things about Road Atlanta is that it's such a it seems like such a short track and such a narrow track. It's really hard to get by if you're any of these other classes. We have this battle going on. We have a battle in P4 in the GTLMs between Jason DeVries and Carter Kundinger, who are being caused by traffic. We have the battle for 2nd in the GTDs as well between Sheldon Rosenbaum and Paul Savanek. It's just a lot of chaos going on right now.
Yeah, that's DeVries that we're watching right now, pulling as far over as he can go on McLeish, still with a compromised line. And Carter Kundinger follows him through. That's actually going to separate them from Leif Peterson, who gets caught out in turn 7. Can we get a little bit of a close-up, though, on DeVries, on the nose? How much damage is there with the contact he made. Because if he's playing fuel games, that is going to be a nightmare for him.
Yeah, he's got some pretty significant damage to the right front of that clip, and Carter Cundinger's going to give a challenge here. He's going to actually think about going to the outside. DeVries covering it off, but like you said, with fuel being DeVries' specialty, that aerodynamic damage on the front is really causing him havoc, and Carter Cundinger is definitely trying to pounce on that.
It certainly seemed like he was struggling a little bit in a straight line. Cundinger trying to snatch this 4th place away. That's Kudrowski down in front of him, and he almost gets into him. That causes him to go wide, all the way off track into the grass. DeVries holds onto it. He keeps it from becoming a worse situation, but he now loses multiple position as Ross Booth is able to get into 7th. Let's take a look at that on the replay.
Yeah, and this one's gonna, and he just thinks that the GTD is gonna carry more speed through the corner, but the GTD unfortunately missed his braking point a little bit and was a little bit deep in, so he had to slow up, and unfortunate.
Now, Soup, it seems like Rosenbaum with his early speed has lost a little bit of that edge.
Might have maybe used up some of the stuff working on the back of Lindsay, because here comes Slavonic, and I would be surprised if Slavonic doesn't have him into corner number 1 here. Good exit out of there, out of Rosenbaum. He gets a good run. Slavonic's been running him down. Slavonic not nearly as good out of 7 as Rosenbaum is, but he's been really good out of that final corner. Doesn't make the move there. He's been chasing him. Might be getting around him. Might be hard part. Now here comes the prototype. So here's that battle with Sockrider and Hunter. This is gonna break this up.
Yeah, and Sockrider's going to try to use them as a pick because he's going to try and get by 1, and he's going to be followed through. So 2 cars are going to split them. As Hunter says, "Sorry, excuse me." As Slavonic, oh man, look at all the time he lost just from that move.
It's the worst case scenario for him. All right, back to work.
Yeah, he's back to 1.2 seconds from being 3/10 behind Rosenbaum just a moment ago. Starting to get close to the pit stops for some of the prototypes. Don't think Ulmer is included in that, and certainly not Luke Carbonneau, who's still trying to chase down the back of his field.
We have a battle for the lead in the GTLMs as we take a look at Billy Smith right now as he's going around. The GTLM's battle is very close between Bradley Haley and Marc-Antoine Thibault. Thibault got a better exit off of the corner, so he's going to be able to catch up to Bradley Haley here and possibly make a move down into the chicane.
He's making a look. Haley doesn't defend, interestingly. Breaks a little bit early even. And Marc-Antoine Thibault is going to get up to the top spot. I did not expect this from the Ferrari. He is clearly fast today and is making good use of it in the first stint.
Well, my other thought is that Bradley Haley might be working a fuel number as well now that he's further into his stint. He did pull that gap early on, but he did lose it to Thibault, so now he's going to have to follow Thibault around and hope that they don't get broken up too much by the lap cars.
Fascinating stuff happening. In fact, we keep touching on that battle between Sockrider and Hunter as they go through other battles. Well, why don't we give them a little bit of the spotlight, because I think Hunter's got a good shot. They're coming off of turn 7 now onto the backstretch. And the number 927 has a decent exit. He's going to have the slipstream. We're watching still the battle up at the top here in the GTLMs. Oh, I think Hunter's got a good shot here. Let's go to the 927. No, he's going to back out of it down into the chicane.
Yeah, this battle for 6th place in the prototypes is very close between Shane Hunter and David Sockrider. They're doing the best that they can to try and avoid the chaos that's been happening all over the place. As we still look at Bradley Haley following Marc-Antoine Thibault as he's trying to continue to save fuel there.
So both of them going on by the pits. We are just about at perfectly 1/3 the way through. About 1 more minute to go on that. Smith is going to be able to continue on. So if fuel was a concern, looks like Smith is going to be able to make the number. Haley still riding behind Marc-Antoine Thibault. He leads by 1 point over Jason DeVries. How aware, though, is Haley of Jason's woes? Jason's still down in 8th spot, dealing with damage, dealing with multiple mistakes. So really, Haley is the one sitting pretty here today.
Yeah, he could take away a good haul of points here and make it even harder for Jason DeVries to win the championship. It would take bad luck for Haley for Jason to win if they were to finish in this position. It would be separated by 7 spots there.
And I have to say, credit to Jason DeVries, came into the championship late. He's dealing with a few 0-point markers in this, so he's come back with a vengeance into this fight as some lap traffic is going to separate both of them now. Sounds like John Ulmer maybe had some drama there. And I'm looking through and I'm not seeing anything, but he was certainly on the radio talking to somebody.
Oh, you know what? He has been running down. He lost about a second. He's been running down Mike Majors pretty effectively. He's lost a little bit of time. Ulmer's still pretty quick. You know, with Wolf out of there now, that's just one less car for him to get around.
That's a good point. And yeah, you're right. Last time we looked, it was 11 seconds from Ulmer to Major. It's now down to 4 seconds between them. And you see him on screen dealing with yet more of the GT traffic. Vance Bow in there and Luke Schmidt.
Let's go back to Bo here, that battle in the GTLMs, because they've now got to that battle we were looking at with Slavonic and Rosenbaum. They split that up again. Slavonic gets another horrible break with traffic. This gets crushed. And it also split up this Tabo Haley battle. And with that, Billy Smith goes through too.
Yeah, that's our leader in the prototypes, and he is going to try and get ahead of Sheldon Rosenbaum, still yet being held up by more faster class cars. Such is the nature of this type of racing. Smith continues on by. Okay, so before we thought maybe Ulmer was going for a backward strategy of a 3-stop, but I'm starting to think less and less because I feel like we should have seen a bunch of prototypes in by now.
Yeah, this is going to complicate things for sure. So we start to hit pit stops. Yeah, Tyler Gimmett and Dean Mull are both in. And we also, okay, yeah.
I think spoke too soon. Okay.
Yes.
Major's in. So it is a little bit tight. Not as tight as I would have thought, though. Thought we'd see more cars going in last lap.
So it'll
Ryder
be
and Hunter last 2.
So it'll be a 2-stop then for these prototypes. I believe.
Yes.
The question is, how much do they have to save to do that? I think that's what Ulmer may be thinking. Ulmer may be the only guy who can race with a clear conscience.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I think that's still maybe possibly the case. If they had gone another lap, then I would have thrown that theory out the window. Billy Smith, though, by the way, the only one to keep going. So our leader, not only faster than everybody else, and he's going for another one. Not only is he faster, he's getting phenomenal fuel mileage.
Yeah, and that's got to be terrifying for John Ulmer, who's now in second, about 20 seconds behind. So Billy Smith being very efficient out there.
And a nice little battle popping up here between Kundinger and Peterson. Actually going to be overtaken by John Ulmer. That's the green prototype getting to the inside. He's going to be a little bit of an awkward spot there for Kundinger, but he swings it down to the apex nicely. And don't forget, that's Kevin Binkley back there. We haven't really talked about Binkley a whole lot, but the 75 is looking like he could potentially be a problem for both of those two.
Yeah, this isn't the greatest track for the BMW GTLM machines. It's with all these switchbacks and quick downforce, back and forths. It's a real challenge for that machine to be able to do that much weight transfer. It's so heavy of a car, but it does get good straight line speed, especially down this back straight. So we're seeing Kevin Binkley be able to wrangle this thing around pretty effectively.
Onto the back stretch. Oh, that was a very good exit from Peterson, though. I think he's going to get a shot at this. As they come down to the braking zone here, it'll be a steep plunge. Who is the latest of the late breakers? Well, it's not going to be Peterson because he gives a lift.
That's just going to encourage Kevin Binkley as our leader, Billy Smith, comes in. Kevin Binkley able to close the gap even more because of that back off from Peterson.
2 laps longer than anybody else. That is astonishing. This is a short lap, but it's not that short of a lap. Ulmer's going to inherit the lead, at least temporarily. He's going to have to come in. He pitted about 6 laps in here. So He'll have a few more to go.
Oh, and Paul Slavonic is off track coming through the S's. He got caught out by the battle between Shane Hunter and David Sockrider. Paul Slavonic, unfortunately, having even more bad luck in this battle with Sheldon Rosenbaum.
Yeah, and I think that was kicked off because Hunter went off course out of turn 3, and he was kind of off pace, so Slavonic just hesitated, and unfortunately that sent him into the grass.
I'm sure Slavonic's going to have a lot to say on the forums after this one. He's just not going to be a happy guy. He's had such bad luck this season in that Audi. It's not even funny. And so unfortunate to see him now being challenged tightly by Kevin Santana, who's taken the opportunity to try and get in and give a shot at Slavonic.
But he also backs out of it once again. Quicker traffic, causing an awkward line for Slavonic. This time it's Carter Kundinger going through. And Santana, despite a peek to the inside, well, no, he's not interested in passing. He is interested in pitting.
That's very peak inside.
Leif Peterson went as well. Kevin Binkley was thinking about coming but decided not to. Now he's going to get passed by Jason DeVries. So lots of interesting strategy plays here. As fascinating to see GTDs coming in before GTLMs. Oh, and Tyler Gilmet just had a big wreck at the top of the hill right before the pit lane.
Oh, no. That's the number 3 car. So this looks like, yeah, just a bit of wheel spin.
Dean Mold gets a piece of him.
Oh, no. And I think that's his teammate, too. We want to replay here. The number 3 car coming out of the final chicane just starts to lose it.
And I think he might have saved it until Mold got him.
Yeah, here it is here. And that's Mole right behind him there. You see in the similar SRN gray machine.
Teammates. It's just heartbreaking when this kind of thing happens.
Oh, we got the grass.
That's a lot of damage. That's going to be tow as well. They might not be able to recover from that.
Well, he was able to drive it in since he was right there. But the number 3 car is... he's been sitting in for quite a while now. He has got an easily long stop here. So, okay, here's what's interesting. John Ulmer's strategy, that's got him 23 seconds ahead of Billy Smith, by the way. So he is definitely running a much quicker pace than Billy.
Yeah, Billy on his outlaps has not been able to get those tires up to temperature. As you take a look at Paul Slavonic, our second-place driver in the GTDs, now in the pits.
Can we pick up real quick Kevin Santana? Because I think Santana's going to try for an over-under here. Slavonic is just coming in. Santana was right behind him. Remember, we saw him bail out. He took his pit stop. Let's see if he can get him.
I kind of wondered with all the traffic that we saw in that situation that was just maybe an audible that a lot of drivers took and tried to get out of all of the traffic they knew would slow them down. You can see him heading up the backstretch. He's well in the clear. He's going to be overtaken, of course, by a couple cars, but that's not going to slow him down at all.
Now, that didn't work at all. He's comfortably out.
Yeah, Slavonic already out of the pits as Kevin Santana hasn't even gone through the last couple of corners. So Paul Slavonic has gained about half a lap on him in that exchange. Bradley Haley's in, though, from the lead of the GTLMs, and he's taken a couple cars with him as well. Marc-Antoine Thibault and David Williams.
All right. Oh, and looks like Haley is in. Williams is in. DeVries, no surprise here. He stays out. So does Ross Booth ahead of him. So the drivers we're used to seeing go a little bit far on the fuel. Manage it despite damage to Jason DeVries today. This is David Williams taking his service, waiting patiently, and now he is out and rolling. So is he going to come out and clear track? Actually, yes, he will. He's only got Eric and Tilly coming up behind him, and he's already up to speed, and Tilly's a GTD car, so Williams is out in a wide open space.
Okay, boys, what am I missing? Wasn't Haley and Thibault close together? After that pit stop, they're separated by 12 seconds. More than that.
Well, Haley, okay, Thibault stopped 17 seconds. Haley's 37.
Tires? Oh.
Either tires or let me check his speed on pit entry. Yeah.
Yeah, ooh, that could be real rough. I mean, I thought the speeding in pit entry was a 30-second penalty, so it could be the difference between tires and not.
No, it looks like he got it down there. That'd be extremely harsh because it was very tight. I'd be shocked if they gave him a penalty.
Well, DeVries and Booth are now in for their stops. Ross Booth out of the lead, DeVries out of second place. So that will mean Marc-Antoine Thibault will inherit the lead. And he will, yeah, like you said, he is miles ahead of Bradley Haley. And David A. Williams was able to pass Bradley as well. So Bradley might be on a different strategy here from these guys.
So who will this put back into the lead? Well, it's Thibault. He is easily back out front, chased by Williams, who is a good 12 seconds behind. Haley back there in third, another 9.5 seconds back from David Williams. And actually being closely chased by Kundinger.
And Bradley Haley's pit stop is by far the longest among all the GTLMs, as their pit stops have just concluded, except for Jason DeVries, who also had a 37.7 stop. So
I'm looking at it though. I don't see Haley taking tires.
Well, so that's fascinating because that's both of our championship leaders having taken 37-second stops, as John Ulmer is in from the lead of the prototypes and just now coming out of the pits after a 22-second stop, so a little bit slower than Billy Smith and Dean Moore.
For DeVries, his could have been maybe a little bit of damage repair as well. Not totally sure, or maybe he took tires because he had some damage repair and he figured might as well, if it's going to be long, get fresh rubber while I'm here.
And Carter Kundinger has just made the pass on Bradley Haley. Actually, they're still side by side as they go through the chicane at the back end of the course. Dominic Durnberg sliding through the grass, and they're just going to miss him. Bradley Haley retaining that fifth position because Carter Kundinger had to back out of it.
Ooh, another heart attack moment for our drivers. Let's watch the replay on that. Side by side. And I know that it's already going to be marginal through here. And that poor Merc watching his mirrors, maybe watching them a little too closely, outbrakes himself down into the chicane. Wow, he was fully past him just about. And still he gets rebuffed.
Okay, boys, I know I've been away from Autobahn for a little while, but let's walk through this for a minute. The GTLMs, it's a two-stopper for them, right?
Two-stopper for everybody, usually, yes.
Right, okay. But they can go a long way, so it's possible that you don't have to take a full load on your first stop, right? That could be the difference of why one stop was faster. Pay me now, pay me later type deal.
Exactly.
Well, here's my other thought, though, Joe, is that Jason DeVries was the last car to pit in the GTLMs. He pitted at about 48:30 left on the clock. Do you think it's possible that he could save enough to finish this race on one tank?
I don't think so. I think he had to go halfway, and I think he planned to go halfway. We know him too well at this point. It's just the damage, I suspect, and all the spins that he had cost him more fuel than he thought. If he could have gotten maybe one or two more laps, I think we could have seen him go that halfway mark, but it's just not doable anymore.
One driver who might be doing that is Chris Sherburne. He just entered pit road in the GTD class. He will be last of the GTDs, but he will be leaving pit road with about 46 minutes to go, in which case he might be able to eke out that fuel, but is it worth it?
Well, let me tell you, as a slow driver, now I'm not saying Sherburne's a slow driver, he isn't, but as a man who has slow driver blood running through my veins, nothing I love more than a fuel strategy race where I can at least be rewarded for driving slowly.
And speaking of fuel strategy stuff, Ulmer, after his second stop, he came back out in third. So he's continuing to make very, very good pace. And let me look at his best lap. Yeah, okay, so John Ulmer's best lap, a 1:10.845, compared to Billy Smith's best lap, a 1:11.493. So this is a rabbit and hare situation. I'm pretty certain at this point.
Yeah, and Billy Smith's last lap was a 1:12.5 to John Ulmer's last lap of a 1:11.4. That is a full second faster per lap that John Ulmer is doing. And with that move that he just made on Paul Slavonic, our current leader in the GTDs, I mean, he's flying out there.
Yeah, I've been watching Ulmer. He has taken no prisoners when it comes to lap traffic. He is just going through. If they see that yellow car coming, I don't know what color it is. Looks yellow to me. Get out of the way.
Well, I hope the drivers know animals better than me. That's a turtle in hair situation is what I meant earlier. As he continues to try and hunt down Billy Smith with his 9-second lead over Dean Mole. A quick stop for Billy Smith, though. It was 19 seconds compared to everybody else in the field taking a 22. Again, that could be down to him taking 2 laps longer and taking a little bit of a short stint this time. We'll see.
Did you say rabbit in here, Joe? Is that what you said?
I did indeed. So
a little bit of Joe Biden in you there.
Oh, jeez. So we've got half of this race left to go now. And our leaders are Billy Smith in the prototypes, Marc-Antoine Thibault with a 14-second lead over David Williams down in the GTEs, the GTLM class. And then the GTDs, Paul Slavonic, even bigger, 17 seconds over Sheldon Rosenbaum. Slavonic looking very handy currently, but it doesn't look like he took tires.
No, he had a much shorter stop, so a lot of that 17 seconds is going to disappear in the pit lane because the rest of the crew, the rest of the GTDs, at least the competitive ones, took 55 to 56 second stops, whereas Paul Slavonic's was a 28.6. So that means Paul Slavonic's going to have to pay the piper at some point.
This is Dean Mole that we're watching on screen, up to second place from 9th on the grid. Wow, we haven't been watching this. And remember, he got a little bit of a touch there with his teammate, though I think he probably pitted shortly after, so I think he maybe got that repaired if need be, and I'm not seeing anything major on the car. Even still, he's been a bit of a dark horse here.
Yeah, he definitely has. He's one of those drivers that we haven't talked about much, but Dean really putting in a fantastic performance today. But it's all about keeping the nose clean during this stint because none of these prototypes are really near each other right now. So it's all about just keeping track of your lap times, making sure you're hitting your marks cleanly, and trying to keep those tires cool enough that you can be competitive. And so this next stint's going to be vital for Dean.
So he weaves his way through more of the GTD traffic, GTLM traffic. That was Binkley and Peterson, and now he's going to have to go by Ross Booth. All those 3 cars are in a fight for position. Booth is another one that seems to have been using a similar strategy to De Vries because he went pretty long on his first stint.
Yeah, but he didn't. He did a 23.7 stop, so that's going to be interesting to see whether he can make that work. We're going to look at the battle between Leif Peterson and Kevin Binkley. These 2 guys obviously inseparable today as they have David Sockrider looking up the rearview mirror. You can see it in the rearview camera, rather, of Kevin Binkley as they go through the next couple corners. But Leif Peterson made the pass on Kevin Binkley in the pit lane. And now Kevin Binkley trying to make the pass back.
I gotta be honest, this looks a lot more intimidating watching that rear view camera and how close he gets behind him. From offboard, it didn't look nearly as scary as a move like that, especially as John Omer goes by Leif Peterson.
Yeah, Leif couldn't decide where he was going to be on track, and so that made John Omer have to take scary evasive action, clipping the grass there. That could end your race real quick if you're not careful. Omer, though, free and clear, and Leif Peterson with a little bit of a second gap over Kevin Binkley, who got trapped in behind David Sockrider coming through the chicane.
Yeah, wheels in the grass at 150 or 160 miles an hour, probably not good news. So they're going to swap around as Sockrider goes by Peterson through turn 1. Still giving chase to see if he can catch up to Booth and shake Kevin Binkley at the same time. And they're starting to get a little bit equidistant here. It looks like they might be catching up to Ross Booth.
Well, they definitely could be. Ross Booth probably playing it a little bit safe right now. They are catching him for sure. Leif Peterson within a second. Kevin Binkley within half a second of Leif Peterson as well. So they're definitely catching Booth, and Booth might get held up by Sockrider on the exit going onto the straight as well, which could be challenging for him.
Oh, and we got to go a little bit farther behind, back to 9th in the GTLMs, because De Vries has caught up to the back of Bow. Remember, De Vries has a lot of work here to try and make up space and minimize the damage he's going to experience potentially here to Bradley Haley. He rocks up behind that green and black machine. Is he actually intent on passing, though? There he goes.
Maybe getting a little bit more fuel saving done, tucked in behind Vance Bow. He's going to try
He fell out of it, though.
Oh, he's going to try and outbrake him. Yes, he is.
I think he's lacking straight line speed. I think he doesn't have enough. The nose crumpled in is hurting him because he pulled up very closely, and then as soon as he pulled out, the car started to fall away once again. So poor DeVries has got nothing underneath him as Ross Booth had an off. Ross Booth just lost 2 positions through turn 1 with his own error costing him dearly.
Yeah, Ross Booth lost those positions all due to a little bit of a slide through turn 1, ends up having to catch it, and that sends him out into the grass. We're going to take a look at it here on replay.
Let's see. Yeah, the tail just starts to come out.
Ooh, he caught that thing. That was close.
Yeah, as Adam Young would call it, that is a hospital wobble if I ever saw one. All right, we're getting down close to 30 minutes to go now. Do we see anybody do a short stint here among some of our GT classes?
Joe, let me talk a little bit about Paul Slavonic, what's going on in the GTDs.
Yes, please do.
He's got himself a nice 15-second lead. You know how he got that? He didn't take tires on his pit stop. Rosenbaum, Lindsay, and Santana did. When Slavonic came out after the pit stops were all done, he was up by about 17, 18 seconds. It's down by about a second and a half now. He is losing time to Rosenbaum. I don't know if he's going to change tires on the next one because it gets to the point where you're not going to get a lot out of a new set of tires. I think he's going to try to do this on one set. This is interesting. They are closing on him.
Wonder if we could look at the lap difference to see how much he's getting per lap on him. This is between the 113 and the 528 here that we want to see. But yeah, first and second place in the GTD class is a fascinating strategic battle here. So we watch that 528 car. There is the difference. It's looking like about half a second a lap.
And Adam, if you're going to change tires, you do it in the middle, somewhere close to the middle, right? You don't, no reason to do it when you're almost done with the race.
Well, it depends on how aggressive you want to be. I would actually want to take tires towards the end of the race so that I could be as aggressive as possible in my final stint, as long as I wasn't trying to fuel save, that is. That also makes it so that the track temperature is lower than it has been the rest of the race, which means you could be even more aggressive. Speaking of track temp, we are down just about 15 degrees since the beginning of this race. We are down to 91 degrees on track, 33 degrees Celsius. So we are down significantly from the start of the race and way down from qualifying.
I've watched them drive
icicles in Georgia right now. Yeah,
they've driven under a few clouds though. You'll see that every once in a while. They go through some shady sections.
Well, I'm sure the driver's appreciating the extra grip if they've got a setup that can handle that change. Speaking of drivers that are playing those two different strategies, let's check back in on John Ulmer. It's down to 1.5 seconds up to Dean Mole in second place. This is him right here. The green and black car is the number 79 of the Big Cheese. As he follows behind, he's catching quickly. So I don't think this is going to be too difficult once he gets to the back of Dean.
That being said, Billy Smith's last lap was a 1:11 flat, whereas John Ulmer's was a 1:12.138. So John not necessarily gaining on Billy, but he's definitely gaining on Dean Mole right now.
You can see a little bit of traffic between them. Marc-Antoine Thibault, he's the leader in the GTLMs. He's not looking to have any sort of fight here. He just wants to stay out of the way, and he is going to pull down to the inside.
Oh, no!
Oh! He lost his line, and he spins it in the grass.
He will not lose the lead, but that's going to cut down any sort of strategy advantage that he had. Here's the replay.
Wow. Just put a little bit offline, and the marbles have built up. We haven't mentioned that. Wow. How quickly it can go away from you. We come back live, so that gap down to 7.8 seconds between himself and Williams.
And there's that shade I was talking about. You can see it, the sweater weather.
Yeah, That's mainly over on the front stretch. Although looks like it is starting to come across down towards the Lesmos section. Let's go to 5th place, though, because Binkley and Peterson got a nice little tussle going.
Still inseparable, these two, and they're both strong in different places. We're going to ride on board with Kevin Binkley as he goes over the hill here. You're going to see just how much undulation you get in this track here at Road Atlanta. It's a fantastic place to race, but it's also terrifying because most of the apexes are blind on this course. Wow, Leif Peterson really chucking it into one. He loses a little bit of traction there. Binkley possibly with an opportunity, but he doesn't want to challenge up here through turn 3.
That looks like he's starting to get a few mistakes, make some crack show there. And Leif Peterson's armor, they come up to turn 5. This is another spot where mistakes could be costly. Let's see how much pressure he really has applied. No, both of them are going to be nice and smooth over the crest.
And as they come down, this is where Binkley has been the strongest, is on the straight, where that BMW motor could really just pull for him. And so let's see whether or not he gets a good exit. Wow, Peterson with a really good exit there actually is able to pull a little bit of a gap, but this is where Binkley closes in just a little bit.
See them picking up speed as they head down through there, up to 152, 155 miles an hour, 160, 165, and finally they get on the binders. Binkley still doing all he can to try and shake something out of Leif Peterson. It hasn't worked yet, but he's got 34 minutes left to try and get it out of him.
If you're looking for a place to take a drink of water, that backstretch is the place, especially if you know you don't have an opportunity on a guy. Definitely enough time to take a break there.
This battle rages on. Don't worry, we're keeping an eye on Ulmer and Mole, and we'll give a shout if that gets closer as well. Really, those are the two best battles that we have out on track. Down through the S's one more time. Porsche versus BMW. Two German makes fighting for supremacy here.
Yeah, wow, that's very close between Binkley right now. He's tucked in right behind him, and if he gets a good exit one of these times down the back stretch, that's going to really make a big difference for him. He might be able to make the pass. Leif Peterson, though, is definitely struggling through the twistier sections. Looks like those rear tires are starting to go out on that Porsche.
And this is behind Carter Kundinger, only by about 2 seconds, but Carter probably sees them in his mirrors and is urging them on to get this battle going so that he can pull away. He sits in 4th. He wants all the gap that he can get to be a little more comfortable out here. No attempts down the chicane this time from Binkley. They are going to be overtaken by Luke Carbonneau. How about the recovery drive here from Carbonneau? Remember, he was way, way back. In fact, behind some of the GTLM cars here that he's now passing, putting laps on. And he's gotten up to 5th place, a top 5 at this point. Granted, he's got about 35, 36 seconds to the next car
Yeah, he's
ahead.
got a lot of ground to make up for sure, and it's going to be a challenge for him to do so. But he fortunately is on the exact same strategy as John Ulmer, so it is a viable strategy to get him to the end without having to make an extra pit stop that would lose him way too much time.
I'm a bit surprised at John Ulmer. He was closing so fast on Dean Mole, and he's kind of stalled out. I don't think he's within the wake of the car ahead, because 1 second back is quite a ways behind.
Not as far as you think. You actually do get the aerodynamic effect off of these cars at about 1 second, especially through the faster sections, especially in the S's. You will feel that effect. So John's really struggling. He might have pulled a little bit too much out of his tires in the beginning of that run. Billy Smith has been lapping faster than John for quite a bit for the last about 5 laps, but John in that last lap was able to pull 3/10 on Billy Smith, our leader. So John, you know that's where he's looking. He's not really paying that much attention to Dean Mole. His challenge is with Billy Smith in the lead.
Almost at exactly 2/3 now. So who is going to be able to make it farther? Is Billy Smith going to extend it to 4 laps beyond anybody this time by? So we watch Ulmer swing it down the hill and across the line. Passing one of his teammates there, leaving the Ferrari B. Been watching Peterson and Binkley. Those two having the same issue we've seen a lot of drivers had. It's just that the traffic, you talked about this earlier, Bill, the traffic really seems to interrupt a lot of close fights.
Unless you watch a battle for 3 or 4 laps consistently, it's hard to figure out who really has the pace because, yeah, it breaks up, it goes back together, and sometimes the leader gets hung up in traffic, sometimes the guy's chasing gets hung up in traffic. I love multi-class racing.
Especially here in Autobahn, it always gives us a little bit of chaos for some fun out there. You can't tell what's going to happen until it's all over. Speaking of wondering what's going to happen, Slavonic versus Rosenbaum. That looks like it's evened out. Rosenbaum is not caught up a whole lot.
Well, he's knocked off about another half second since we talked about it last, but that was quite a while ago. So yeah,
exactly.
maybe some of the happiness is worn off of Rosenbaum's tires. Remember, though, he was our leader early on. He fell back to 3rd, so he's working his way back. Don't count him out yet.
So if he was only able to gain, what would that be, about 3 to 4? Ooh,
Yeah,
and there was a mistake from Slavonic. So maybe Slavonic's starting to feel it there as he spun the tires out of turn 7. But 3 to 4 seconds that Rosenbaum has been able to gain on fresh tires. I feel like unless there's a cliff waiting for the 528, he's on the right strategy here. Yeah,
I've been away for a while, but I've done it long enough. 90 minutes is, boy, even changing tires for a 90-minute race, it seems iffy. Although Rosenbaum, Lindsay, and Santana all did it, so who am I to argue with them?
Yeah, I gotta say, looking back at some of the races that we've had with this Audi, the thing gets extremely dangerous later on in a tire stint. So it might just be a security thing to come in and take tires for him.
He will lose. Yeah, that'll lose him some of the time. 30 seconds. That's too much, though. He's going to be well behind someone like Sheldon Rosenbaum if he does not take tires, though. So I don't know. If I was Slavonic, I'd hold the course. I'd take no tires. But then again, I'm not.
Yep. You don't have to drive it.
Yeah.
You know what, Joe? We were talking about lap traffic. You and I have been doing Autobahn for many seasons. I think you would agree with me. 4 or 5 seasons ago, lap traffic was always an issue. These guys have really got it down to a science. When I say that, somebody's going to make a mistake, but they are really so much better at it now.
Oh, absolutely. You can tell that these are mainly drivers that have been driving against each other for literal years now. So they have the experience, they know the dynamic, they know how each other works. This is a very close-knit culture in this league, and that is by design. They want it to be so that they have a good time out here and have a good race. We've got a problem out on track for the 47 of Daniel Gralti, I think.
Yeah, this is coming through the S's, and this exemplifies just how dangerous the S's can be if you just get a little bit offline.
All right, here's the replay, and you're right. This has got to be scary for him. Now, did he actually get the wall in the end?
No, he almost had it, though. Adam, he had this thing saved until he gets to quarter 5.
Oh, jeez.
That was a curve.
I got it. Oh, no, I'm going to loop it.
Yeah, it's terrifying for sure.
So, as he continues on, that lost him a little bit of time, but mercifully, he avoided too much damage, at least around the edges of the car. The underside might have taken some bounding over the grass like he did at such speed.
Dean Moll's coming to the pits, Joe.
Okay.
He's going to be out of that battle with John Ulmer. Ulmer gained on him so quickly, but was unable to make any sort of move on him. So I think Dean Moll's going to consider that a win as he sits in his pit box, jumps out immediately.
Yeah, it depends on if Ulmer was being held up by the dirty air, because he does have some traffic, but if he is out and running on his own now, he could potentially have the pace to be able to get by him. Oh, and Billy Smith is in. This is earlier than I expected.
Definitely within the fuel window, so he won't have trouble getting to the end of the race. He'll be able to go full out. But Billy Smith in from the lead. His last lap was fairly quick. It was 1:12, so that's about the best you could do in traffic. Dean Moll also with a pretty quick in lap as well. So these two drivers doing pretty decent work, but John Ulmer is going to be able to sling on by. We'll see how long he can go, and that will affect how short his stop is. But if that's the case, then he's not going to be able to take tires as Mike Major comes in from 3rd as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing other drivers do about 25 laps on a stint, and Ulmer's on 19 right now. So he definitely can't get to the end.
Now, Adam, we talked about the difference in fuel load between when Ulmer, but right now this is a rare instance where Ulmer's car is actually going to be lighter than Billy Smith until Ulmer has to finally come in for that stop.
So here's the math, though. It's 22 seconds in pit lane without stopping in your box. So Ulmer would have to have over 22 seconds. Right now, it's showing that he has 27 seconds over Billy Smith. And that would mean that that's without even doing his pit stop for fuel. So it's going to be tough for him to take the lead. And if he doesn't take tires, that's going to be trouble too.
What you're saying is it's a lot of deficit to make up taking that extra stop.
Very much so, yes.
Oof, and he's having to really hustle the car dealing with these GTs. Major back out. We saw him. He returns in 5th place. Now, Carbonneau went by him, and Carbonneau is another driver that has to make another stop. The last one we're waiting on, really, besides Ulmer and Luke, is Shane Hunter, who is actually in.
And Marc-Antoine Thibault in from the lead of the GTLMs. He had a very quick stop, 16.5 seconds, and he's back out. So this will take him to the end of the race. Marc-Antoine Thibault will come out of the pits in the 8th position.
Worth noting that Bradley Haley's not that far behind David Williams right now, too. And Haley had that longer stop that we're not sure if he took tires or had a penalty. So is Bradley maybe going to get the jump if David has to put some fresh rubber on?
I'd expect Bradley Haley to have the longest his stop would be that 16.5 seconds that we saw Thibault take. But the fact that Thibault could do such a short stop means he's going to go all the way to the end on his first stint of tires. So he might actually come out ahead of Bradley Haley if Bradley comes in soon. So that could be very interesting to see how much these new tires that Bradley Haley took on that first stop end up affecting his finishing speed.
23 minutes left to go now. It's all shaping up. And the only thing that really we don't have a question mark over right now is that Billy Smith has clinched the championship. Haley, it's a question at this point of how many points is he going to take over Jason DeVries unless something dramatic happens. And then the fight between Lindsay and Santana, well, they're actually right back to 3rd and 4th where they started. Both of them are yet to pit. Wonder if that will make the difference between them. Will we see maybe any alternate strategies to try and take a risk and get themselves some positions?
For those of you who want to keep your eyes on a fun strategy call, load up GSRC.tv in your browser, our live timing and scoring, and keep your eyes on Chris Sherburne. He's only taken one stop, and he pitted and left the pits with about 46 minutes to go. That's about halfway, so if he's doing some extra fuel saving, he might make it to the end of this race on one stop, which he would be the only one who'd be able to do that, I believe.
And while you're there, watch the interval between Paul Slavonic and Sheldon Rosenbaum as Rosenbaum keeps knocking off time. Now, Rosenbaum had a rough time through the chicane a couple laps ago, lost about a second, but he's been knocking this off. You heard about Joe talking about Slavonic maybe finding a cliff with those tires. He may have found it because Sheldon's starting to come.
I'm looking at the lap times, and Slavonic looks like actually he's stayed relatively consistent, 21s and 20s.
Yeah, Sheldon had it down to a 12-second gap, which was as close as it had been, and then he had a horrible lap. We'll see how this plays out. Another 20 minutes to go. I don't think Slavonic's taking tires on this next stop, though.
He can't, I don't think.
He's racing what he's got, yeah.
If he wants the win, at least.
Wow. So, guys, look at this. Luke Carbonneau, 22 laps into his stint, ends up putting in the fastest lap of the race in 4th position. So our pole sitter, even though he's dropped significant spots, he's still going very fast out there.
And Ulmer on the same amount of laps as Ulmer here, Bill.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And Ulmer is up 30 seconds on Billy Smith. So, Adam, that's not enough time, right? You can't get in. That's too big of not enough.
I don't know. That's actually marginal.
It'll be close. I mean, he's definitely going to have to fight it for sure. I don't think Billy Smith is in the clear at all, but Ulmer is definitely going to have to challenge him on old tires, I think. So, yeah, this will be fascinating to see. We'll keep our eyes on both of those battles for sure.
He's got 2 more laps, I expect, before Ulmer has to come in. Maybe fewer than that. since his pace is quicker than Billy Smith.
That's assuming the pizza doesn't come sauce only.
Oh, we got a couple takers on the GTLMs. Leif Peterson and Ross Booth taking their final stops. Let's see, not seeing anybody else joining them, though.
Yeah, the interesting bit for me with the GTLMs is, oh, look at that. That was, oh my goodness.
Oh, that was Thibault and Luke Carbonneau. And they managed not to hit one another. Luke Carbonneau with a bit of an off track, scaring our potential leader here in the GTLMs.
Ah, that is a terrifying moment, no matter who you are. Okay, so Thibault didn't realize that Carbonneau was going to make that move to the outside and crossed across like he normally would, and Carbonneau had to go off track to avoid him, and then they almost came together when Carbonneau returned to the track.
Again, teammates.
Carbonneau made a little weave there. Not sure what that was going on there. Boy, goodness, he plowed through those cones. He's able to finally find some clear air. Now, up at the GTLMs, Williams and Haley, who have yet to take their stop. Haley looks significantly faster than this 01.
Yeah, Williams definitely not doing as well on the older tires as Haley is, and you want to know why that is? Because Bradley Haley took tires last stop, whereas Williams did not. So that is part of the reason why you're seeing such a speed differential. David Williams on double stinted tires, Bradley Haley on tires that have only done one stint, and it's starting to make a difference here.
Forced a defense there from David Williams. He went to the inside, coming down to turn 6. Going to be overtaken by Billy Smith, who's still losing inches to John Ulmer there in that prototype class. Ooh, this is a very good run for Haley. But I don't think he's just going to take a small little look, and he's not going to make a serious move here.
Daniel Galti into the pits from the 6th position. He's now dropped back down. He should be leaving pit road at about 11th position in the GTLMs for his own battle.
Waiting on Ulmer and Carbonneau to come in. Ulmer's on lap 25 of his stint. This should be it, I think. I believe he can't go much farther than this.
Got it up another second.
30.4 is what I'm seeing between himself and Billy Smith. As we watch David Williams half a second ahead of Haley coming up through turn 5. Watching Ulmer right now because he's coming. No, Ulmer's able to go another lap. Wow. So good pace and good fuel for the 902.
And he pulled yet another second. Oh, here we go. This is Bradley Haley's attempt here on David Williams. David got a little bit of a bad exit there out of the corner onto the straight. But look at this. Williams starting to pull a little bit. These are two Ford GTEs battling side by side. Let's see whether or not Williams tries to late brake on Bradley Haley. Ooh, wow. Oh. Very close. Almost contact there. And here we go to the braking zone. Haley's going to be able to beat him out.
Fresh rubber wins the day. So Bradley Haley, again, these two still need to stop. And Williams getting on the radio. I didn't quite hear what was said. Not sure if he was unhappy with that move. Nearly caused a big, big accident there because that was one of the fastest parts of the track.
He likely was trying to tuck right in behind and maybe misjudged just a nip.
That's my best guess on what happened, Soup.
Nearly 15 minutes to go here. So we ride on board with now our second place GTLM.
So I can report, Joe, that John Ulmer's going around another time. He's going to manage to put 27 laps in this stint.
So what I was watching earlier, I guess, wasn't totally accurate. Other drivers coming in at 25 laps is not the limit.
That interval now, 31.7 is what Ulmer's doing.
As we ride on board with Williams still, he is continuing to fall back from Haley. It's almost a second between them. Bradley using the goodness in those tires to great effect here at the end.
And the question is whether that's going to be enough. I'm going to keep my eyes on Marc-Antoine Thibault. Remember, he pitted from the lead, so he's back down in 6th position in behind Jason DeVries. We'll see whether or not anyone I really agree with you, Joe, that I don't think anyone can make it to the end except for possibly Chris Sherburne in 8th place GTD, but it'll be fascinating to see how far they can go here.
Speaking of fascinating, Carbonneau didn't make it the extra lap. He is in now. And Ulmer follows.
Right.
All right.
So
Let's see what this does between himself and Smith.
Smith just exiting onto the backstretch right now, so this will be fascinating to see whether or not Ulmer can make it out. Remember, it's about 22 seconds on pit lane, as we also have our leader in the GTDs in Paul Slavonic. Wow, Carbonneau out pretty quickly from that stop. That was a 12.9 second pit stop for Carbonneau. If Ulmer's is anything like that, it's going to be close.
What he needs is a splash and dash here to get to the end. It's going to be maybe 13 laps. I'm watching Ulmer. 10 seconds. Wow.
Smith is going to get out ahead, but only just. No, he's not. Ulmer laps Smith.
Woohoo!
Wow. When he first made that stop, I had my doubts. I did not expect this to work.
Now, here's the difference. Billy Smith took tires on the first stop. Ulmer is on two stint old tires now, and Ulmer's way off pace now. Billy Smith is going to have to try and make a move here if he wants to win this race, because he knows how fast Ulmer can get in clean air.
A little bit of a mistake through turn 5 from Ulmer. He went wide into the marbles and had to catch it as they come onto the backstretch. Billy Smith can see that gearbox up in front of him. Is this going to be enough? It doesn't look like it. I don't think he's gaining. Meanwhile, Slavonic what was Slavonic talking about?
Oh, here we go.
Slavonic.
Ulmer into the pits again.
Oh no. He didn't fill it enough.
Oh, heartbreaking. Either that or he's serving a penalty. I'm not sure which, but this is heartbreaking for Ulmer.
Wow. So there is Kevin Santana. More championship implications. Lindsay, who is yet to pit, is still out. Santana's going to return in 4th position, it appears. See if Ulmer's got that penalty.
That is a long stop, Joe.
Not a splash and dash. I think you're right. I think you're right that it was a penalty.
Maybe pit entry, but usually, I don't know, Joe.
I've forgotten to put his pit limiter on the exit. He is close to the exit, so he could have maybe tried to dash out of there.
David A. Williams in and out. About 10 seconds of a stop, so that's going to give us a good barometer of what Bradley Haley's is going to be. Ulmer out with, oh my goodness, Carbonneau gone by. Wow, this is rough. Ulmer 30 seconds in the box. That's a penalty for sure.
Wow. It was a beautiful strategy, and it looked like maybe it would have gotten him a second win in a row, but now he's even off the podium as he tries to chase down Carbonneau, the other driver, to do more than 2 stops here today. That was
Joe, just to follow up.
Sorry, go ahead.
We're talking about Slavonic. Slavonic came in, made a stop, as did Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum picked up about 5 seconds. The gap is now under 10, about 9.5, but Slavonic's still out there in front. Lindsay is our leader. He still needs to make a stop. Santana has made his final stop.
Here goes Ulmer on Carbonneau. He's able to make that pass fairly cleanly. Carbonneau not able to challenge as Bradley Haley, our leader in the GTLMs, is into the pits.
Okay, so Haley and I think DeVries, the last 2 that we need to pit down in those GTLMs, and no surprise, DeVries keeps going. Now, what about Williams? Williams is coming around the final corner. He's actually got some traffic, so he's going to be a little bit slow here, and Haley is out. Haley's going to be clear. He's got more than enough momentum to be ahead of David Williams, and by a good degree.
And also ahead of Marc-Antoine Thibault in 4th position, so, man, Haley is going to have pretty much free and clear here of his challengers behind, as Thibault just could not get going on this last stint. Yeah, he lost he's been making up time, but he lost about 4 seconds in that stint and was 6 seconds longer in pit lane, and that's going to be the difference. Even though Thibault's driving faster, he can't make up the time he lost on pit road.
Battle here for fourth place between Ulmer and Carbonneau, but I think Carbonneau let him by. I'm not sure if he's going to really fight this. Also worth noting, I don't know if we covered this, Peterson jumped Kundinger in the pits. He's up to 5th, and now it's Binkley fighting with Kundinger. Well, make that Binkley going by Kundinger right now.
Yeah, Kundinger just making a mistake out of 5, ends up getting into the grass, and that's going to allow Binkley to go by. Kevin Binkley still trying to catch up to Leif Peterson. He's been doing that all race, and now he's about 3.5 seconds behind, so unfortunately, it's got to be tough to do in 10 minutes. Jason DeVries is into the pits.
So where is he going to come out in relation to Haley? We know that he's going to be behind him because Haley's already through, but how many positions back? That's the big question mark. He stops in his stall. This is going to be not a terribly long stop, I imagine, as we've only got 10 minutes left to go. His fuel savings still phenomenal despite damage. Peterson's going to be able to go by. Don't know if Kundinger's going to get by him, though. It's going to be tight.
It'll be a tight battle between themselves, between DeVries, Kundinger, and Binkley for this final stint for sure.
He's out in 5th. As we ride on board with Kundinger, there you see the gap now as they all have finished their last stop of the race. It's about 1.3 seconds up to him. Oh, and Thibault is off. Thibault is off in the same corner he was before. It was turn 6. He hasn't hit the wall. But our third place driver finds himself with another error.
Oh, and this looks like a brake bias thing because you do have to trail brake a little bit into that corner, ends up locking up that left rear, and that ends up spinning him around.
The saving grace for the number 37 is that he had such a gap over Peterson that it's still about 5.8 seconds back to the number 39, so he stays on the podium.
And Joe, we look at the battle with Ulmer and Carbonneau. Lindsay was able to pit from the lead in the GTDs. He lost the spot to Slavonic, but he was able to get out in front of Rosenbaum. So Rosenbaum, who was in 2nd, now is in 3rd as Lindsay stays out long and picks up the spot.
This looked like a good run at first, but I suspect Carbonneau may be lacking a little straight line speed. Now, whether that's good damage or Ulmer simply having such a trimmed out car, it's a bit of a back and forth here. He holds close behind, but well, we've seen this a million times, Bill. You need a fast car in a straight line to make a pass, and if he's got high downforce, Carbonneau's kind of gone the wrong way here.
Well, that's the John Ulmer theory that he wants to be able to pass.
Yeah, and, well, not just pass, but defend as well, it seems. And it's working out quite good as, once again, high downforce through the S's. Carbonneau gets right up behind him. Oh, and that lap traffic might be what he needs as they go 3 wide. Lindsay staying off to the side. He doesn't want to be taken out with this. Carbonneau lifts, though. And he's let Ulmer's through. That's Ross Booth. Ross Booth is off course.
Yeah, just a little bit of a distraction there for Ulmer and Carbonneau, and Ulmer's able to capitalize on that. We're going to take a look at what happened to Ross Booth here.
It's a similar deal.
Right.
Self-made mistake.
Same place, too. Looks like these GTLM's really struggling on those tires in this last stint.
The student driver got his notch on his license, unfortunately. So he keeps it going, but a little bit of embarrassment for the number 11. Six and a half minutes left to go. The battle between Binkley and Kundinger has not ended despite the mistake from Carter early after their pit stops. He's making sure that Kevin's got to work for it.
Yeah, and actually Kundinger was able to pass back Binkley going down the back straight on that same lap. So Binkley just now getting past Carter Kundinger, coming up to the S's. He actually made a really risky move. So Kundinger a little bit with hot tires right now, unable to bounce back at Kevin Binkley, but these two have been nose to tail for the last 2 laps.
There's a few drivers crossing fingers here at the end of the race. As we watch from on board. And there is, I believe, that was, who was that actually that moved through? I was going to say Ulmer, but...
I believe that was Mike Major.
Yeah, there you're right. Another green-colored car there. Oh, and Ross Booth is in. Ross Booth is pitted. He didn't hit anything, so I'm not sure why a third stop for the number 11. Unless he just didn't like the tires or the setup and the car was... He's out of the car. This is bizarre. We've been teased by this one here for P4 and the prototypes. I don't know if Carbonneau actually wants a spot here because we've already seen him lift once.
Well, he has been hounding the back of Ulmer for quite a while, and he doesn't seem to be happy with the way that Ulmer did make the pass. So I would expect that Carbonneau, if he has an opportunity, he'll take it, but I'm just not sure whether he has the pace to make it by.
I'm pulling for Carbonneau because I'm tired of Ulmer disappointing me all the time. Come on, Luke. Go get him.
As they break down into the chicane, less than 5 minutes to go at this point. He's got a little time, but not much to try and do something with it. And De Vries. When did De Vries start to catch Peterson?
On a Peterson mistake, those rear tires for that GT11 Porsche is really not helping him at all, and De Vries is trying to make a pounce, but unfortunately he's not able to do anything with it yet. He's just been stuck in behind Leif Peterson for that 4th position in GTLM. Oh, this is very close now as John Ulmer gets held up by a lapped car. Luke Carbonneau possibly with an opportunity, unable to do anything with it though.
Yeah, just unfortunately it seems he's struggling to try and take advantage. And meanwhile, we got to go to De Vries because he's got to run on Peterson down the backstretch. And it's a very good run because he's fully alongside him now. It's going to be a game of chicken down into the braking zone of the chicane. He's on the outside. Peterson, though, early on the binders. And Jason De Vries is going to be able to move himself into 4th, hoping to minimize as many points he's going to lose to Haley as possible.
Yeah, Peterson wanted to try and come back at him, but De Vries positioned his car perfectly to try and block that. Hopefully Peterson is able to keep those tires underneath him and stay in the tire tracks of De Vries and pull himself up forward and maybe make that pass once again. But I think Peterson's tires are done for the day.
Certainly seems that way. So maybe not a podium unless Thibaut is really struggling right now. De Vries about 3 seconds behind, and they've got 3 minutes to go. That would have to take an incredible run. One of Thibaut's teammates still working on his battle. That's Carbonneau and Ulmer. I was talking about drivers crossing their fingers. Slavonic, I believe, still waiting on a win if I've got my stats correctly. And this would be his first if he can hold off these 4.7 seconds to Paul Lindsay for 2 minutes.
Don't need to go there. Daniel Gralti just saw the outside wall on the straightaway.
And unfortunately, Chris Sherburne could not make the strategy work. He has to pit with 2 minutes to go in this race. He will not be able to make it all the way on just one stop.
In fact, we're 2 laps to go here, this time by the line, because Billy Smith is coming down to that flag stand now. There you see him over the crest. He put another lap on Sock Rider.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 laps to go for them, but this battle for that 4th position in the prototypes, Luke is definitely not done with John Ulmer. He is pushing really hard to try and make Ulmer make a mistake, and Ulmer is almost doing so. They're both pushing very hard as you see a little bit of oversteer coming out of the corner. Carbonneau definitely wants that 4th position. He's not giving up yet.
Sheldon Rosenbaum just came over the mic, said, I miscalculated. I'm 1 lap short, so he had to come in from 3rd.
And just not enough straight line speed for poor Luke. And he has been stuck there for multiple laps now. Back to Bo, and De Vries did catch him. I did not think this was possible, but here we go. He's looking for the over-under, and he's got the run off the corner, just barely has enough space, gets it to the inside, forces him off the desired line, and he's going to go all the way out into the grass. Can he hold on to it? The car weaving back and forth. He's still not quite got it, and he's going to go around.
He locks up the brakes. He still managed to keep this thing straight. Oh, man, that was close. That's going to be the scariest moment of his life.
Peterson went by as well. Oh, Bo got to be kicking himself on that one as we get the white flag for Billy Smith.
He was not going to get off the gas on that one. He was going to save it.
As the clock ticks down to 0 now, Smith can afford to be patient. Mole a whole 10 seconds behind. He's going to be able to get Kundinger. And that is Bo, who we just saw his wild ride. And actually, Bo might lose a spot to Kundinger there. That's for position. Looks like not quite. Kundinger have to back out of it. Coming through turn 7, that cost him his momentum. And considering the leader just went by, that was his last shot.
Billy Smith with a very good race today, very commanding up at the front. He was able to hold off the charge from John Ulmer. I could see him definitely calculating his laps based upon Ulmer's strategy to make sure he had the gap, and it ended up being enough. Billy Smith, fantastic race today.
The win here in Georgia for the penultimate round goes to Billy Smith. Next car through is going to be Paul Slavonic. 2.5 seconds back to Paul Lindsay.
Oh,
this actually
no!
might be close.
We just had a wreck. Bradley Haley got spun out of the lead in the GTLMs. He's coming around now, but I think David Williams is going to be able to pass him.
We'll have to come back to it in a moment because I think Slavonic is tight on fuel here.
This is scaring me. It's getting close. 1.7. He may have to just nurse it across.
He's coming down the hill. He's got it. Paul Slavonic taking that elusive win finally over Lindsay. And Williams is ahead of Haley now. Haley is having to limp it home.
Yeah, Bradley Haley with major suspension damage. David Williams is able to get by him, and he's going to be able to take the win handily.
Unbelievable. David Williams is your victor here today, taking the lead on the final lap. And Haley is going to finish ahead of De Vries. Incredibly, it's only one position in the end. So De Vries really did do damage limitation. Here's the replay.
Yeah, and this is a moment between Kevin Santana and Bradley Haley. Haley able to brake earlier than Santana, and Santana gets into him, and oh,
absolutely gutting, as that makes the championship that much tighter into the final round. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results, and we'll have driver interviews as well as all the upcoming races here on your screen.
Welcome back to what was an extremely eventful finish here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge Series here at Road Atlanta, the penultimate round. And Billy Smith comes home with the win today. That will also make him your prototype champion going into the final race at Spa. Dean Mole came home in second place, and Mike Major in third. John Ulmer, after we discovered started on qualifying fuel, comes home in the fourth position after making an extra stop. Luke Carbonneau chasing him home after getting some damage, coming home in fifth position. Shane Hunter in sixth, and David Sockrider in seventh. And then for your GTLMs, David Williams takes the win after a last lap incident between Bradley Haley and Kevin Santana. Bradley Haley able to limp it home in second position, but not gaining that many points over Jason DeVries going into our final race. Jason came home in third. Leif Peterson's going to finish in the fourth position ahead of Kevin Binkley in fifth. Marc-Antoine Thibault, with his own troubles on the penultimate lap, comes home in the sixth position. Carter Kundinger in seventh, and Vance Bow in eighth position. Mark Wilson comes home ninth, Robert Canchin 10th, and Daniel Grauty rounds out your finishing GTLM cars.
Somebody needs to call Tire Protective Services for the way Paul Slavonic abused his, forgetting to change tires in one of the stints. He goes the whole way on one set of tires, gets the win over Paul Lindsay. Kevin Santana is going to finish third. Sheldon Rosenbaum miscalculated the fuel, so that cost him a position as he has to settle for fourth. Eric Antilli and Dominic Dornberg behind him. Tim McLeish and Chris Sherburne couldn't one stop it. He finishes in 26th overall. And then the rest of the drivers you see on the list are all DNFs.
All right, well, first up we have Billy Smith, our winner in the prototypes. Billy, with your biggest championship rival not here this week, and also with Joshua Wolf having that wreck early, that secures you the win in the prototypes according to our math. And congratulations on both that championship and the win today.
Wow, well, thank you. That was unexpected. Of course, beginning of the season, I wasn't doing too well, and you know, some of the things you mentioned have occurred, and kind of just inherited the lead. But I'll take it.
Yeah, Billy, it was definitely not an uneventful race today. You ran fairly well and fairly clean, but talk to us about the traffic today. It's always challenging here around Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it is, and of course, you know, early on, I think Luke had medium downforce, so I was trying to get past him and keep up with John there. I knew he's going to be quick, as he always is here. And the traffic honestly wasn't that bad. Of course, if you caught him through the S's, there's kind of just had to sit there and wait. But I seemed to just be able to get in a rhythm and mostly make you know, passes without losing much time, and for the most part uneventful.
Yeah, and a fantastic drive from you for sure. And I don't know whether you knew about John Ulmer's strategy woes, but were you worried about him? Were you taking a look at him on your relative and trying to make sure you're staying ahead of his strategy?
Well, I don't know if he could have made it on fuel or not. It looks like he might have been able to. So I actually was trying to save fuel or save tires the entire time, just with the track temp and everything, knowing from the 24 hours of Le Mans, during the day you have, you know, the tire degradation is pretty severe, and so I knew I had that up on John from that race, and so then I just really took it easy, especially once he mentioned the fuel situation, and then just I did kind of watch the relative a little bit to keep him, you know, try to keep that gap just enough so I had a little bit of a cushion.
Well, Billy, fantastic win today, and congrats on the championship. Is there anyone you want to thank for your season today?
I just want to thank you guys and John and all the guys behind the scenes that run the league, and you know, of course, everyone that's on the front lines during this global situation we have. Just want to, you know, say thank you to you guys, and stay safe.
Well, congrats again, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Spa for the season closer.
Thanks, see you guys then.
All right, that was Billy Smith, our winner in the prototypes. And next up, we have Soup talking to Paul Slavonic.
Paul, it's Soup here. I'd like to congratulate you for your tire wisdom, but my understanding is you might be like an accidental genius, huh?
Yeah, I would almost call that a heist instead of a win. It was more like an accidental heist in a sense. But yeah, I think I was kind of going back and forth between taking tires, not taking tires. I had them checked, but then I unchecked them because I saw that the weather was the track temperature was dropping pretty significantly, and I figured it would just continue to drop like it did at the last round at Watkins Glen. But then, like 5 minutes before the pit stop, I decided, let me just err on the side of caution, and I said, let me just go ahead and take tires. But something came up. I think lap traffic got in the way, and I got distracted, and I never bothered checking tires. So I was wondering why my pit stop was a little shorter than I expected. But at that point, I'm just committed to it, and I ran with it and came out. And I think everyone was 20 seconds behind. So I figured I just have to run a smooth race, and hopefully they don't catch up to me.
Were you just minding the gap at the very end to Lindsay, or was there something going on as he was closing considerably?
No, I was trying to push but not be stupid and throw something away. Because I saw him closing in, but at the same time I was trying to do a little bit of math in my head while I was racing, which is never a good idea. Seeing that he was catching me about a half second, maybe 3/4 of a second per lap, but I saw that there were only a few more minutes left in the race, so I figured I can afford to be a little more, safe, even though that kind of goes against everything I believe in.
Got it.
when it comes to doing that.
Well, congratulations. It's fun to watch you do it, and you saved the team a little money on the tire fees.
Yeah, I hear you. Thanks. Hey, it's good to hear from you again. It's been a bit.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Congratulations, man.
Hey, Sean. Hey, thanks, man.
Well done. Thanks, Paul Slavonic, our winner in the GTDs.
And next up, we have David Williams, who came home with a win in the GTLMs. And David, I think you're just as surprised as we are to see you cross the line first. Talk to me about what you saw coming across the last lap.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even know that Bradley had spun out. I was shocked when I went across the line.
Yeah, and a fantastic win from you today. I mean, super consistent all day, and ended up that your pit strategy ended up getting you that win partially as well. Talk to me about how your pit strategy possibly differ from the ones around you.
Well, it looked like Mark, I think that's the right pronunciation, Mark. I think he looked like he short pitted the first time and just took fuel only. And then I took no tires the entire race, and it looked like, I'm guessing Bradley took tires and a full tank of fuel in the first stop because he came out about 10 seconds back. So I knew that from past experience that last 24 hours of Le Mans, I could double stint these tires, which at a full tank is almost 2 hours of driving. So I was relatively confident I could do 90 minutes, but having 2 cool down cycles, they got a little slippery.
For sure, David. And David, fantastic win today. Is there anyone you want to thank for that?
Oh, as always, I got to thank our sponsor, GTR Simulators. You got to come by, reach out to one of the TNT racing drivers. We have a special promo code that you can get a 25% discount if you order through GTR Simulators using our discount code. Contact one of us, tnt-racing.com. And I just want to say to Soup, hey, take the hammer out of the oven, brother, because the camels learn to read.
Thanks, David. Congratulations on the win, man.
All right. That was David Williams, our winner in the GTLMs. And we want to give a big thank you to John Ulmer and his team as we wrap up tonight. We also want to give a thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are now listed here on your screen. A big additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Joe, Bill, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_green. If you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. The link is in the description below. And also, don't forget, well, you're actually on our YouTube channel. If you see a big red subscribe button to the bottom right, that means you're not subscribed yet. We would love
shame
for
on
you
them.
to do so. I know, right, Sue?
Waiting for.
Yeah, well, jump on board so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Our next race for these guys will be the season finale at Spa. That's going to be Monday, July 13th, right here on the GSRC, 9:15 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. It's going to be a whopper. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Now, we hope you've enjoyed joining us tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing this race to you, and we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.